Hello, you're listening to Nick Needs to Know, the podcast. Join me as I have open, honest and relatable conversations around careers, mindsets and life in general, and what that looks like for each one of our different guests. On this episode, I am joined by 36-year-old Bruce Falconer from Bathgate in West Lothian, where we talk about his life and career, both past and present. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Morning, Bruce. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Nick.
How are you feeling?
Good, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. From what I can see on your camera there, it looks nice and sunny.
It's really sunny. Got the washing out, so take advantage of it while you can.
Yeah, especially in Scotland, yeah?
Especially in Scotland, yeah, because we'll have about 364 days of rain, so when the sun's out,
and the first day the sun's
make it
out,
happen.
I've got you sat inside doing a podcast.
I know. Yeah. Good thing it was early in the morning, though, because I could enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's it. So, why we're on this podcast today, we're going to talk a little bit about your career, past and present, and everything else that's happened in between, and the decisions that you've possibly made in your career life that's led to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So take me back, Bruce, to your first ever paid job. What was that and what did it look like?
I was 16 years old and I worked in a shop called Morning, Noon and Night. So think of it as a rival to a co-op. Unless, of course, you have Morning, Noon and Nights down your neck of the woods. But no, it was just, I was looking for a job while still at school, and because I like to try and keep as active as I can, and I get bored quite easily. So you hit 16, you can start making your own money, start buying stuff that your parents are starting to struggle to afford because you're a giant, and things cost more when you become an adult. So I went up to my local shop, asked if they had a job. I had the weirdest interview in the back room. And the guy literally asked me, can I reach the box of crisps on the top shelf? I could, and he hired me. The only thing I couldn't do was put through an alcohol sale by myself. I had to have someone over 18 beside me. So
because you were 16 at the time?
Because I was 16 at the time, yeah. So
how tall were you?
That was a bit 16? Weird. How tall was I? Probably as tall as I am now, but 6'3".
Wow.
So, I think I stopped growing at 16, to be fair, because I'm still pretty much the same height. Vertically, I'm bigger, but horizontally, I'm still the same size. It was just because it wasn't, it wasn't corporate or anything. It was just a sort of independently run store. Yes, there was multiple, kind of like a McDonald's, where you can buy a franchise if you like. They don't necessarily fall under that corporate wing. Someone can make a decision for their own store, and that's kind of what this was like. So you would go in, talk to the supervisor or manager if they were on site, ask for a job, and the interview could be as relaxed or as professional as they wanted it. So yeah, I went through a weird phase of dyeing my hair. I kind of looked like Cruella de Vil at the time, so there's this big weirdo standing behind, the checkout, and as the Scottish people do, they like a drink of Buckfast, and so you would constantly have to shout someone through from the back to help you put through the sale of Buckfast for all these regulars, let's call them. So it was all pretty fun. But yeah, it gave me the sense, if I wanted to go and buy something, but of course, when you get your first paycheck, you feel like you're the richest man in the world, and then £300 suddenly disappears.
Say, what did that first paycheck look like? £300.
Well, it looked very good on day one.
Yeah.
But on day two, it was back to square one. You had no money left because you went down to the shopping centre and you blew it all because you felt like the richest guy in the world. But it gives you the, I don't know, I suppose it makes you value what you make now and how foolish you were when you were young with money. And when you grow up, you realize there's a moment in your life, I think, where you realize I've been very, very silly with money, and I've bought like 1,000 or 1,500 DVDs, and they're just pointless now.
Yeah.
So you end up realizing something needs to change, and it's almost like a light bulb. It goes off in your head, and you're thinking, right. Granted, I have well, she's now my wife, but I met a girl who was very smart with money, so that kind of helped. So, but yeah, I was foolish because of that.
I think it's an important lesson, though, is experiencing that and being foolish. And then, like you say,
Well, absolutely.
you get to understand the value side of it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's something that you can pass on as well. I've got a younger brother and sister as well, and you can pass these on. I've made mistakes, and sure, they'll make their own mistakes, but hopefully they've learned from mine to make the same mistakes. They make their own, and then again, they can pass it on and so on and so forth. So, I don't, well, maybe in hindsight, I do regret the amount of DVDs in particular that I bought, but I don't regret at the moment buying them. But spending £70 on Police Academy was probably not a smart investment. So, but, you learn, you move on. You don't buy his Police Academy because it's probably available on some sort of streaming service, but similar to, it's very strange actually, because when I was listening to one of your earlier episodes, I realised that the guy before me has had many jobs, but it's more than I've had. But I have had a stupid number of jobs, and very similar. Some would last a couple of days because I didn't want to go back in. Some would last a couple of weeks because I wasn't given the rota for the next week, and I just didn't go back. And so I've kind of been around and had a few industry experiences after that first job. But that first job taught me more when I look back at it now than some of the other ones that I worked at for. Because I was going through a period where did I want to go back to school? Did I want to go out and earn more money? In hindsight, I wish I chose a better or a second career option to fall back on. But I desperately wanted to be an actor, so that's the path I wanted to go down. And there are regrets that come with that, but I wish I chose, I don't know, some sort of like a teacher, or I don't know, something that you could get your teeth into. But I decided to go down the actor route, and if that doesn't work out, which for a lot of people it doesn't, you then find yourself bouncing around jobs after school.
So the acting, was that something that you realised at school then, or was it something at a later age you wanted to do?
Oh no, it was from about 5 years old. I think it's the first moment I saw. It was two movies. It was Edward Scissorhands and Ace Ventura.
Right.
Were the movies I thought I want to do that, because it was Range, right? You saw Jim Carrey. First moment you see him, he's walking down the street and he's kicking a box around in a building as a fake delivery man, and then you've got the sort of range of, Johnny Depp as Edward Scissorhands. It was excellent to see, and you were thinking, this is a magical thing that's happening on screen. You're 5 years old, you're impressionable, you want to do what they want to do. So that's hence the 1,500 DVDs that you would buy stupidly with all your money. But I did. I went to college. I sort of still try and understand why because there was an opportunity to fly to, there was an academy in New York that I had an interview for. You had to have at that time it seemed ridiculous that you could do video chats and stuff like that, but you would log on, you would do almost like an interview, because I was in the UK and they were in the US, and you would be like, excellent, right, let's fly to the States and see you perform in person. You're thinking, oh, excellent. And then it's that fear that kicks in. You're thinking, but what happens if I go there and I don't get it, and then I have to fly all the way back, and then I've experienced New York and all of that sort of stuff. So I didn't do it. I backed out. It's maybe the only time that fears got the best of me, and I'll always remember that.
Do you regret that?
Oh, every single day. Well, no, I say that and it makes it sound like it makes it sound like it's really bad, but I've regretted it in periods of my life, especially if I'm watching something and it's something that I really enjoy or something that's maybe filmed locally in the UK, and I think maybe I could have been in that, or not blockbusters or anything like, because I don't think I was that good, but certainly something maybe more independent. And I think I could have maybe been in that. And as I said, it doesn't get me down or anything. It doesn't linger in my mind, but it's just little, moments where you think, damn, why did I do that? But as I said, it wouldn't, had I done that, I wouldn't have met the girl who's now my wife. Wouldn't have the job that I've got now. Who knows what my life would have become. So it's in the regret, you really can't fully regret it. It's just in moments where you think, oh, what if? It's like a sliding doors moment, right? If I had done it, what would have happened? I didn't do it, so I'm now living this journey. What could it have been? Sort of thing. So it's one of those things that I look back on, but it's, it all started in that shop, a boy with a little dream, and then I got so far and I then just dropped off. But I've done other things like stage performances and other bits and pieces. I've performed in theatres and stuff, and I've managed to do something that relates to what I wanted to do. But who knows? That you're never too old, I suppose. I mean, some famous people have.
Because acting is not like a sport. I mean, a lot of footballers can get to a certain age and look back with regret because they've made certain decisions. But acting, I mean, I think it could probably feature in your future goals as well. Maybe does that happen to you? Do you ever think maybe I'm going to give it another shot?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's contact. Well, I say contacts at media company that you and I both work at.
Yeah.
And I've been an extra in there. It's not a door that's firmly closed, I'd say. It's something that I'll maybe leave open. And who knows, it's maybe something I'll dabble in or dabble in more of, sorry, later on down the line. But for now, I mean, I'm happy where my life is just now. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen?
Morning, noon, and night. We've started there. How long did that last for you, Bruce?
Like that would have lasted probably about a year, I would think. And then I moved on to where did I go after there? I think I moved on to Schuh. Schuh footwear. Moved on to their warehouse, and I didn't work there long, because it was picking. So orders would come through. You would go around the warehouse and pick up the orders, put them in a box, and then pack them in the truck that would go to the store. When it was quiet, you would put together boxes, you would tape them all up and stack them. All of us would get together and build like forts and stuff because you would have lots of quiet downtime. So you would see you could build the most elaborate fort out of these boxes without them falling over. So you had good fun doing that. That lasted, though, I'd probably say about maybe 2 months. And I remember getting so bored that I didn't want to go back. And I lived at my mum's at the time. I would come home really early. I would hide in the downstairs cupboard in the hope that she would go to work and then I would have the house to myself. But then almost gave her a heart attack as she opened the cupboard door. There I was standing in the cupboard. And so she hated me for that. I left that. I went to work at HMV as a Christmas temp. Absolutely loved that job. I'd done every single hour they wanted me to do, with the sort of brief glimmer of hope that they would keep me on. But I always knew deep down it was a Christmas temp. I was never going to get kept on. But me thinking, I'll do all the extra hours and show that I'm eager. And they never kept me on. But to this day, I've still never seen the original Wicker Man because of the amount of Wicker Man copies of DVDs I had to stack on shelves. I've never seen so many copies of one DVD in my life. It's just boxes and boxes of The Wicker Man. So they obviously thought that they were going to shift that, and I don't even think they would if they sold it at 50 pence because no one bought The Wicker Man. So that was crazy. I think after that, I went to work night shift, and this is the sort of first foray into tech for me anyway. Apart from playing a Mega Drive or a Commodore 64 when you're younger, but I was assembling and building motherboards and towers for computers. So I would do that for Packard Bell. That was night shift, and it didn't last long because night shift is for people who are much stronger than me because it's not a shift that I could do long term. I had a friend who was a manager at a McDonald's. I worked there for 2 weeks, and there was a problem with shifts. So I would go in, I would look at my shift. I had a 2 week rota, brilliant, excellent. Never saw anything for week 3, so never went in. And got a phone call about 4 days later, asking where I am, why I'm disappointed in my friend/manager. And I thought, well, there was no rota for me. So again, you're young and you're young and foolish. You just you're naive. You think, oh, someone will contact me and stuff. But these are all lessons, right? You take little things from every job that you've had until you wind up where you are long term or where you're going to be for the rest of your days. And so that was McDonald's. I then worked in a meat packing plant, Halls. Another 2 week job, that one. That was a 6 till 2 shift, 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. Excellent shift, but you're tasked to put 2 pairs of plastic gloves on with a toothpick, or you know what I mean by toothpick, the little wooden cocktail sticks, sorry. And you would have this big mound of frozen meat, and you would pick away at it, constantly stabbing your fingers because you lose feeling. So little pockets of blood are starting to appear, but they're not coming through both pairs of gloves, so it's fine. So at least I'm told it's fine anyway. So if anybody ate a M&S meatball that had blood in it, it was probably mine. And with M&S, the crazy thing about M&S was the meat was all the same as Asda or Morrison's, or I think it was Safeway at the time still. You would just have to roll them neater and line them in the tray neater for M&S than you would for everybody else. You could maybe not have as many rotations in your hands and then just throw them in the packet for all your other supermarkets. But M&S is a touch above everybody else, so they had to have nice rows. That lasted another couple of weeks, and then after that, it all gets a bit hazy because then I started to go and see career advisors and wonder, like, where am I going at this point? And then I think my first proper interview where you were suited and booted was at the media company that we're at now, but not my first spell. So I worked for the company that we work for now in their contact centre. I was at college at the same time doing drama and communications. So I would do an evening shift there. I left the media company because it was a fun job, but it could be very damaging to you if you worked there long term, especially the environment that you're in. It's negativity based, not from the company perspective, but the role that you're doing. It's a retentions based department, so you're constantly having people coming on saying, "I no longer want your product." You need to keep them on board, but that can drain you. So I decided to focus on college at that point. And then I got a job in a cinema. And that was excellent. And I remember being the only person in the screen at one point, because you could watch films if no one else was there, and you tidied everything up and everything was clean and tidy. And I remember watching Fred Claus by myself in a screen right in the middle, and I could just stretch out and watch a movie to myself. And then all the other movies come out, you would go in, tidy everything up, and then you would go home. But that was exhausting because you would go from college during the day to working till anywhere between 11 and midnight, and then you're back up in the morning to go to college. And at that point I didn't drive, so you were relying on public transport, and it was just exhausting. So I left the cinema purely based on being able to sleep and focus on college work.
So was college still your main focus at that time, on the hope that was it acting you were at college for? Was it drama and stuff like that?
It was drama, yeah. And work was a means to make money.
Yes.
At that time, whereas college was always my intention, it was always my focus. Money was made purely to give me something to enjoy weekends, buy books, buy materials that might be relevant, costumes, travel, all of these sorts of things. And if there was ever a book or a movie that was recommended by our lecturer, you had the resources to it, and that you didn't have to rely on college bursaries, or you didn't have to rely on your parents or whatever. You were very much self-sufficient, and that's why you would do it.
Was that important to you then at that time, Bruce, to be self-sufficient and not have to rely on other people?
Yeah, because I came from, yes, and there's the reason for that is when I was 5, my mum and dad divorced, and my mum had 3 kids at that time. She had 5 in total, and there was from my parents, my mum and dad, there was me, my big brother, and big sister. And when I was 5, my brother was off, so he had his own friends. My sister was very, very close to moving out, and I saw a single parent who worked in a supermarket struggle to effectively keep a mortgage plus 3 kids. So I don't think you're aware that you're aware at a young age that that's what's going on. But you look back now and you're thinking, I can see why I don't make the same decisions or mistakes or anything like that, or what you now consider mistakes that your parents made back then, but they're obviously doing it for their kids. So I always say to myself, look, I'm never going to, and you would, ask for expensive presents at Christmas and birthdays, but throughout between those spaces, you would never look for anything. Obviously, they would buy you a uniform for your school and all of these things, but you would never go and ask for anything ridiculously expensive. You would save that, for your birthday or your Christmas or whatever, in the hope that you would maybe get them. So, yeah, it was always important to me that you always have to rely on yourself, I think, financially. And if whatever decisions you make, if I couldn't afford something, I wouldn't say, I'll go and buy that and I'll just deal with the consequences later. And I think a lot of parents, maybe our parents are of a similar age. I think mine's are in their mid-60s. I think they make decisions that are very different to ours, that we would maybe make now because we have them to learn from, whereas their parents would be of a generation where money wasn't necessarily in abundance, right? So, and yeah, for me, it was important. If I wanted something, buy it myself, because I knew that the burden it would place on others if you asked.
Do you think seeing your mum being successful at holding a job down and bringing up a family was important for her to see that you were able to do the same, like bringing your own income and stuff?
Absolutely. I mean,
just because I want to throw back to something you mentioned earlier when you worked for Schuh, and you'd find yourself hiding in a cupboard. I mean, we laughed about it, and it is a laughable thing, but it's an extreme thing to do. Do you not think, to hide away in a cupboard so your parents didn't see that you wasn't going to work?
It's a very, very extreme, and it's an extreme thing. And I think my mum only accepted it because I hadn't left school, so I was still registered to go to school, and I was in the two minds of, do I remain in education or do I work? Fortunately, I hadn't missed enough of school, and I was only at Schuh for a short period of time. And if you on the bigger scale, bigger picture, that I could leave Schuh and still go back to school. Yes, a lot of catching up to do. I could see the disappointment in her face, in amongst the near heart attack and the laughing, because it was a moment that was. And my mum and I have that sort of relationship anyway, where I can kind of say anything to her and it'll be funny. But I can't deny the look of disappointment on her face. And we've probably all had moments like that with our parents as well. But I've seen my mum have a job in a supermarket, but also take evening work in a hotel, just to be able to give her kids what she thinks is enough for them to, roof, food, electricity, TVs, and things like that. And it might be something that she maybe looks back and regrets, but I don't know. She done what she had to do as a parent to make sure that her kids had a good upbringing, good values, and all of that sort of thing. And I look to that now, and in moments when I was younger, certainly from the college age cinema and things like that, where get your priorities in order and whatever it is that you want to focus on, go for that. Don't find yourself in two minds, because that can be very, very dangerous. If you're uncertain on something, seek guidance, clarity from someone who maybe has previously made that decision, and it should hopefully help. But yeah, touching on that, Nick, absolutely. If I was to have an outer body experience and go back through my life, and if I could see that face again, you would see the disappointment, then the heart attack, then the laughter. So you're right. It would be disappointing for her at that time, but that's why it's a one time only thing, right? You make that mistake, you don't do it again, and then you grow from there.
Fast forward, and you've had a spell at the media company.
Mm-hmm.
You've left that due to the work environment. Did you find it hard to fit into the work environment at the time, or was that something you think, yeah, I could probably get used to this?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the work environment was, because the people, I think, where we work, one of the things, regardless of what people say about, their opinion on who we work for or the job that they do or anything like that, the one thing that can't be denied is that they do hire excellent people. And the people that you work beside and the people that I work beside, completely different people from different parts of the country, but I don't know, they fit a mold. And I think that the people that last, as long as they last, only do so because they fit that particular mold that the company's looking for. And that's one of the things that I love about who we work for, is the people that we work beside. And the job that we do now, you're getting to spend large parts of your time with these people all the time. So that's one thing I've always loved about it. The role itself, it wasn't doing the job. It was simply decisions that were made behind the scene that made the job more difficult to do. Targets being changed and different processes, and the amount that you could earn would always change and stuff like that. And it became more of from a management perspective, it became more toxic. And I didn't want to be in an environment that was influenced by toxicity, let's say. So I wanted to remove myself from that, because there's no. I mean, if you stayed within that, I couldn't imagine the person that I would become. So I wanted to come away from that, because there's no good. It's no good to yourself, I find, being involved in an atmosphere where you can start to feel it change. And it's at that moment, yeah. It's kind of like in that moment, I suppose, where you've had one beer too many. The previous one was fine, but it's that next one that leads you to the room spinning and then the inevitable leaning over the toilet. So I wanted to get away from that. Found a job in a bank, which was doing mortgages and insurance. Fun times. Speaking to people, I've got a £700,000 house. I want to borrow more on it. No, okay, let's see if we could do that for you. So there was that for a while. Then you would go through the insurance quotes and things for them, and the decision on their borrowing. And if it was a yes, excellent, they were happy. If it was a no, because they've got about 300 credit cards that are defaulting, and then they're trying to, fight with me about, oh, I've got loads of money, I should be able to borrow this. My credit rating's fine. Meanwhile, you have their credit rating in front of you, and it's not fine. So that was different, but it was more rewarding, and it was more challenging for a brief period of time. But I'm someone who likes to feel like I'm progressing, and certainly at this moment in time, that's who I am now. But I learned that in the bank, that I don't want to sit. And there's colleagues that, I mean, you probably have them yourself, Nick, where they maybe do the same job, and they've done it for the last 14, 15 years. I can't do that because I need to feel, even if it was seconded jobs that you'd done and you came back to doing what you do now, I'd need to feel like I was doing something different, improving my mind and, gaining extra skills and just, feel like you're moving forward. And that's what I started to learn at the bank, that I can't sit here in this chair having these conversations time after time after time. So I moved into the pension world, and that took me to Aegon. And that was excellent because there was so many different elements to that job. It wasn't just, someone has a pension. And then you start to understand the complications and the nuances of what pensions are and how they work. I just thought it was money that you came off your salary and you contributed to it, and it helped you in a later on in life when you're retired, right? The sort of basic elements to it is what makes up that pension, how it invests and how investments work, which is what I then went into within the company and stuff like that. And that took me to the job before coming back to the media company that we work for. So that took me to Royal London, where I would then be responsible for managing companies who would have pensions with us and their responsibilities for things like automatic enrolment and stuff. And that was dead exciting. And at that time, because I wanted to continue to develop physically, psychologically, and things like that, I wanted to come away from the office environment because it had been a part of my life for a number of years. And I wanted to go outside. And it was by chance, only chance. And it was Facebook that's responsible. And it's maybe the only thing that I'll give them credit for because I've not had Facebook for years now. I saw an advert on there for the role I came back to the media company for, which was one of our engineer roles. And that was excellent. Loved every single moment of that. Wanted to do something a little bit different. So I saw a seconded position for a year doing the other engineer skill set that we have. And that was about 3 years ago. I'm still in a secondment, but now doing what we do, right, which is coaching other people on improving who they are, both as people, as performers, because they're already improving as people isn't a bad thing, right? Because we all want to be the best version of ourselves. At least I hope, anyway, that we don't want to be worse than who we are now. We always want to be the best that we possibly can be. And I don't want to quote, military posters or anything like that, but that's simply, what we want to be, right? So, and that's one part that I enjoy, that you get out with these excellent people and you have brilliant conversations, and then, you use your experience from where you've come from, and I can use my pension experience and investment experience, and help people when they talk about their shares or they're looking into cryptocurrency and stuff like that. And you're thinking, well, the market's strange. But just if you have access to it, keep on top of it every day and see how it moves and performs, do it. Because I've had complications in dealing with the role that we do now, Nick, in the beginning, especially how when you interviewed for it, and my understanding of what the role was to what the role actually was when I first started it. And I thought there was so many limitations when it could be so much more. So eventually, once different skill sets come into play and everybody gets, the different skill sets to match those of the work that our engineers do and stuff like that, I think it's starting to become more of what I imagined it would be in the beginning. And that's why I'm delighted that it got extended out. So getting out and having these conversations with different people, helping them improve, be it performance, be it as people, having, conversations about what's going on in their life and stuff. And people open up to you. And it's amazing to think that be it battles or struggles or things that go on in people's mind that they're sort of dealing with. And at the time, it could be something as simple as, do I have a Greggs sausage roll or a steak bake? And some people find that difficult to make that decision. But others, it could be far more complicated. They've maybe got something going on at home. But if you can help them, I don't know, just talk. And it could be about nothing. It could be a nothing conversation. It could simply be about, I'm getting my garden done. You're completely taking it away from anything to do with work or what they're, but just allows them to just, it sort of disappears for that brief moment. And that's what I enjoy about what we do now.
For me, Bruce, what I found hard, and listening to you speak as well, you've probably got a similar sort of mindset, due to the fact that you've taken yourself out of different environments because you can't see progression. So your mindset is one of wanting to progress and wanting to better yourself. How do you deal with those conversations you have with different people who don't have that mindset, which, by the way, is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's just everybody's different. Everybody is different. And you're trying to put across your mindset to somebody that's not receptive of that and has a completely different mindset to you, but you've got to spend time with that person. How did you deal with that? Because I found that hard, and I had to adapt massively to those conversations because I obviously thought, why does everybody not think like me?
And I suppose that's the great thing about human beings, right? Is just because I'm who I am, I'm not out there to change them and make them me. I want to learn more about them. So I forget for a moment who I am because, let's face it, we should all know who we are, at least to a large degree. So I'll speak to the people and I want to understand what makes them tick. Why are they who they are? And then when you get into, you then find out so many great things about these people. And, I speak to people who've been here for 20 years and they're just happy with the old school methods of how they used to work. Obviously with the modern elements added in, like your health and safety things and stuff, but that they're just happy doing what they're doing. And for me, I'm thinking, but think of all the things that you could have missed out on, but also think of all the things that you've had to change as what you do has changed. And it's all about, it's about trying to make them feel more excited about what it is that they actually do. Because they might just be resigned to doing what they've done until the day they decide to stop working and then they retire, and that's fine. But then you could find out more about what their plans are for retirement. I look at it more on a conversational level as opposed to, let's get you picking up your numbers X, Y, and Z, because then you can get onto that conversation once you've broken everything down and started from, the ground up. And I guess it's maybe easier when you've worked with these people for a number of years before you do what you do now, to have the conversations because you already know the personalities, you've worked beside them. But when you're going out in this capacity as a coach, I'm not there to coach them, to be, especially if they're in the job 20 years, they already know how to do their job. So I don't want to go out there and start, reteaching them how to do their job. I want to try and teach them other things or help them with other things, be it their conversation style, but try and tailor it to who they are as people. And that's why I want to find out who they are as people first. Especially if, they've been there for a long time. But even if it's someone coming out, and they're fresh 6 months, a year, but it's a completely different environment to what they're used to. How many times have you ever had someone come out with yourself, be it a manager, be it someone else in that type of role where they're teaching you new things or anything like that, but they just go straight into right, what are you doing? Show me what you're doing, rather than getting to know who you are first. I would much rather someone came up to me and they don't need to buy me a coffee or anything like that, but they can just come up and start talking to me, and I think you open up a little bit more once, someone knows who you are first. That's my take on it, and there's no one person's method is better than someone else's. It's just different, and it's theirs, and they have to.
Yeah, it's easier to see what people are doing. I think the key is understanding why, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's only I can tell you why. Like going back to that hiding in the cupboard incident, only I can tell you why I did that. But without you, if you could just ask me straight out, why did you do that? But I'm less likely to give you a more truthful answer if I hadn't spent half an hour with you, at least this is how I think. Anyway, if you hadn't spent half an hour with me getting to know who I am, right? Bruce, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, I'm X, Y, and Z. Ah, okay. And then you've told me about this, so what made you, end up doing that? And then because we've already had a bit of dialogue, I then start to, give you more than just, I just didn't feel like working anymore, for example. So that's the way I see it anyway. Like I said, it's not right, it's not wrong. It's just my style when I go out with people.
So that's the present Bruce. Future Bruce, what does that look like for yourself, or what do you hope it looks like?
Well, I always, and this touching back to earlier on, I sort of always look at ways and how I can improve myself. But what's the world doing just now? Because since COVID, things have changed, right? Things have changed massively, both for who we work for, other companies. People are more freely available because of the hybrid working situation and things like that. So I like to think of what parts of the business that we work in are most at risk, let's say, and how can I sort of fit into that? And then I think, well, technology is huge. And so I decided, well, it's as huge as technology is, and our ever constant reliance on technology as well. I want to be somewhere in that loop. So I decided last year to start a cybersecurity course at college. So I want to get into, because as humans, we're constantly going to be relying on technology and its benefits. And don't get me wrong, there are huge benefits, but there are also massive downsides. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily realise that. And as much as people find things like Wi-Fi kettles and fridges and everything, really cool, they're also a device that's connected and could be a problem for your home environment, especially if you've got young ones or anything. So I wanted to look into that. So I started a cybersecurity course. I've joined the Cyber Champions, and I'm on the portal as well at the media company that we work for. So I think that would be certainly something that I would like to look at long term. I've never seen myself as a manager, and I feel that out with the coach role that we do in our normal role, everyday role, that's the sort of logical step beyond. Especially if you max out your potential skill sets that are available to you in your area and stuff like that. I think I've never seen myself as a team manager personally. So I want to look at other ways where I can develop myself, be it that self-development or in my current, within my current employer. So, and that would be, I think that's what my future holds. Certainly in the short to, or if it's a 5 to 10 year plan, I would like to get involved in that area somehow.
Lifestyle then, non-work related, Bruce. What does that look like currently?
Well,
what gets you through a day?
What gets me through a day? I'll be honest. I'm a very simple man, Nick. I like football. I don't know if are you Hull based or Sheffield based or
Hull based.
So you may, you may, depend on if you're a football man or how big a football fan you are, if you are one. So my team in Scotland is Hibs, or Hibernian if you're looking for their full name. So a single man, I like football. I try and keep as fit as I can, so I'll go to the gym before work. Coming home to my wife is one of the greatest things. We're having our first kid, so she's 5 months pregnant, so I'm looking forward to that. The everyday things that keeps me grounded would be your hobby, your passion, be it the football, keeping yourself fit, and my family now, my wife and soon to be child. So these are the things that keep me grounded and keep me smiling, keep me happy. I try and block out anything that's out there, whatever you see online or in the media and stuff like that. I try and block all that out because most of the time it's nonsense anyway, and focus on the things that are real to me at least. And that would be those things. And the odd Greg's visit doesn't help because I do enjoy a sausage roll or whatever.
Finally, as well, before we move on to quick fire questions, Bruce, tell us one thing that people may not know about you.
Tell us one thing that people don't know about me. I once shoplifted from Asda and was charged by the police.
Wow.
However,
And what did you shoplift?
well, so it goes back to one of those early paychecks where you think you're super rich. I went in, so I had loads of carrier bags full of stuff because I thought I had everything. And I remember going into Asda, and I remember at this time, for whatever reason, Asda used to sell Levi jeans. So I go up and I look at these jeans and I'm thinking, oh, okay, how much have I got left? And, how much are these jeans? So then I would put them back down and I picked up all my bags and I would go and believe it or not, I went and got hair gel and hair dye. And I couldn't carry them, right? So I put them in the bag foolishly. I had enough money, cash, in my wallet at the time to pay for these things. I hadn't left the store, but then a security guard had come over and they said that they were following me on the camera, took me to the police station, got my fingerprints and stuff taken, but that was it. That was as far as it went. So, note to self: don't put things in a bag unless you just carry them.
Get a basket.
Yeah, on in a basket. There you go, or a trolley if you've got too many bags. So yeah, that's something that maybe 2 people know about me. So now 3 and however many people.
A lot
more now. So
right, so we're going to move on to these quick fire questions, Bruce. I know you've been looking forward to this, so it's time for quick fire questions. Right, Bruce, quick fire questions. 5 questions. They close in the title. Quick answers. If you want to elaborate, we can. So question 1. What was your favourite subject in school?
well, there's a tie. History.
History. Okay. Question 2. If you had to change your first name, what would you change it to?
Hieronymus.
Say that again. Ronimus.
I don't know why it's the first thing that came to my mind, but it's have you ever seen the I think it's the TV show on Prime, it's called Bosch.
No.
His first name is, I think there's a famous sailor or artist called Hieronymus as well, but it's the first name that came to my head. It's Quickfire, so that would what I changed my name to.
Okay then, so question 3. What is your favourite type of music?
Yeah, the Foo Fighters, rock and roll.
Okay, rock and roll. Number 4, summer or winter?
So, winter. I prefer being colder than hot. And I'm from Scotland, so it's pretty much basically winter all the time.
Yes. And finally, question 5. What advice would you give an employee on their first day?
Won't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, and don't hide in a cupboard.
Well, and don't hide in a cupboard. Or if you're going to hide in a cupboard, at least make sure that the person who's in the house is away. Or...
Yeah. Look, Bruce, it's been great talking to you, mate. Nice to catch up and hear the stories from past and present. And thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit that follow button and join me next time for more chats on Nick Needs to Know.